Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second weekend of this wonderful Chennai Storytelling Festival 2026. I want to start with a very silly question. If success, sorrow, kindness, imagination, and love all walk into a room, what do you think would speak first? Well, today we might just find it out. And today is the fifth performance out of the 14th adult performances in the 14th edition of this festival. So, joining with us, the very first teller of the day is Venkat Ramakrishnan sir from Bangalore. So, again, a thought comes to me here. What if running faster doesn't always mean reaching sooner? And what if success has its own timing? This story is titled Sprint to Success. So, Venkat sir, the stage is all yours.
Hello, CSF. Thank you for giving the opportunity to tell my story here. It's wonderful to be in this audience. I'm author Venkat Ramakrishnan from Bangalore, India, and the story that I'm going to tell is an offshoot of a short story called Sprint to Success in my book, A Pebble Unlistened. So there are two characters in the story. One is Urmi, the sprint runner, and Sachin, the trainer. Although the original story has a different track, this is going to focus on Urmi's running. So let's begin. Urmi looked at Sachin pensively and her eyes pleaded for a break. Sachin smiled at her knowingly and he said, Urmi, you just wait. I know when to give you a break. Let's walk to the block and start your running practice. So Urmi pulled herself because she has been training very hard throughout the day and she walked with Sachin towards the running block. As she settled in the running block, she waited for Sachin to give the signal of get set and go. As Sachin gave the signal one by one, Urmi, after hearing Sachin tell go, she launched herself but stumbled and fall down. Sachin was kind of worried. Are you okay, Urmi? And he gave a hand to lift her up and he pulled a chair for her to sit down and he pulled a chair for himself and then told Urmi, Urmi, you know what? That is something that I observed while you started running. Even though you were on the block and you were focused on running, your eyes were roaming somewhere else. It was looking at the water tank on the right side. So you have to be careful about your mind, eye, and body coordination. Mind comes first. The mind tells you what to do. The eye need to follow what needs to be done and where to look at. And finally, your body has to act. If your eyes are not synced with what your mind and body are doing, then this is going to happen. Urmi nodded in agreement and said she'll be careful in the future. Come, let's have some tea, Sachin said, and they walked towards the corner where the tea was offered. They drank the tea and then they went to the practicing section of the stadium where all the equipment were kept, like slam balls, medication balls, um, dumbbells, barbells, skipping ropes, and all kinds of stuff. So Urmi looked at Sachin, what should I do now? Sachin said, go with the core exercises first, and then we will go to the slam ball. After doing the core exercises, Urmi took the slam ball and started slamming it down. Sachin observed her for a while and told Urmi, you know what? You are not applying enough pressure while you are slamming the ball to the ground. And when the ball is bouncing back, you are applying too much pressure to hold the ball and bring it your head back. So you need to be careful about how much pressure you need to put on the ball when you're slamming it down and when you're bringing it back to the head. More pressure when you slam and less pressure when you bring it up. This is called dexterity, things that you do with your hand, and the force that you apply when you're doing actions. Urmi nodded and said, "Yes, I will do this too." "Okay, now let's go to the running track again. I want to see you run," said Sachin. They both walked towards the track again, and Urmi was all enthusiastic to run and make a very good performance because she was hoping for 21 seconds for 200 meters, which is very near the international record. Although she is preparing just for a national dash, she wants to be prepared for the international too, and she wants to raise the eyebrows of everyone by doing 21 seconds. So she was all ready, and when Sachin gave the signal, she launched herself, and this time she was perfect in her running, and she completed around 180 of the 200 meters, and then she finally finished. And Sachin gave her a thumbs up signal and then said 21.3. It's awesome. And then Sachin looked at where Urmi was standing and he laughed out loudly. Urmi said, "What's wrong? What's going on? Why are you laughing at me?" Then Sachin said, "Look at where you are standing." Urmi looked down and she was standing in the track next to hers. So Sachin said, "You have to have your eye on what you're doing, the attention to detail. You have
What
to
are you
not
asking?
only start, but all the time you have to keep your attention." So Urmi agreed, and finally she won the race, and because of the Sachin's guidance. Now, this story tells us the human skills that are necessary, which are different from the job skills. A report from World Economic Forum of 2025 just lists the job skills that are required in 2030, and these human skills are all not there in the list of skills. But as a human, we need these skills. It is not just about the survival and the job, but also the human skills which makes us effective and efficient human beings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now let's talk about the story a little bit. Is this a story that you created?
Yeah, this is a story I created.
And what do you love about the story? What really stands out to you about the story?
The thing that stands out about this is that I totally love paying attention to myself and my daily activities, and I want to reflect that as character in the story. I want to emphasize on how important it is to pay attention and be attentive in whatever we are doing on a daily basis, every moment.
So that's one message you hope comes across in the story.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I mean, the very first thing is to, and that's very important, is love yourself first. Because when you love yourself first, everything flows so easily. That's what I
Absolutely.
can take from this story.
Absolutely. Love is the basis of everything. Even this morning, I observed that if you have absolute love in your heart, you will do everything every activity very compassionately and with love. So yeah.
Yes, audience, over to you.
Although I have a good morning, everybody. I have a poor internet connection today, but I couldn't listen to the whole story. But I loved the part that you said about mind, eyes, and body. This row of how to approach things, if I get it right. Hmm?
Absolutely. It's one of the very important things that I mentioned in the story.
Yes, it was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Yes, so Venkat sir, I have one more question. So, did you create this story from any of your personal experience or something?
Yeah, by nature, I was a very clumsy person. I didn't
Okay.
pay attention. So my mind would tell me so many things to do, and in a hurry, I would do many things, and I will just stumble, and I won't sequence the action properly, right? So there'll be thousand things that will be going in my mind when I try to do something, and then I won't be sequencing them properly. I won't be paying attention. My eyes will be somewhere else. So I was the inspiration for my story. When I actually made myself better in the past couple of years, I would say I was paying extreme attention, especially in the kitchen, which is a great place for mind eye body coordination, doing different things at the same time, parallel things and all that. And so I mean that was a basis for writing the story.
So here you come to women that they are known to be multitaskers, especially because they can handle the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just amazed by how people have different burners going on at the same time, and all the vessels cooking, and how do you manage that? I mean, it's absolutely
right.
stunning.
Yes.
I've posted in
Anybody
the
else?
I've posted in the chat section 5 questions, which sometimes the storyteller can ask some of these questions and get some answers, and then give his own answers. So these are just possible suggestions to use when having a conversation about a story.
Mhm.
I think question 4 and 5 are already answered.
Hmm.
Might you like to add to the story or change it in any way? Um, no, it's
Well,
actually
that's
an offshoot
that's
of the
actually an
story.
activity we talked about the other day in the activities workshop. Can anyone imagine what happened before the story or what might happen after the story?
I can hear even he answered that, right? Because he was like that before. And that's the reason the whole story flowed.
Hmm.
Is that correct,
Yeah,
Venkat sir?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
And what can be after the story?
Um, Today I'm very observant about what I'm doing, although I'm not perfect. I'm not there yet, but I'm 1,000 times better than what I was before, and that gave me the guts to write the story and share it. I would say, um, so incidents and accidents both are prevented by me being very careful these days. So yeah, that's the one that changed after the story. Yeah.
Great.
That's
I would
wonderful.
love feedback from audience on point number 2.
I think, may I, Eric?
Of course.
Yes,
I
please.
think Purvi was very careless before, right? Now that she has won the title, I think it's a big responsibility for her to maintain that status, right? So
Mhm.
she has to be very careful and a lot of practice, lot of
Yeah,
responsibility on Purvi.
absolutely. Not only that, actually, in the story, she is winning the national dash. Now she has to win the international dash. And this is 200 meters. And now she'll be, her mother is asking her to go for 400 meters also, eventually, in the original story in the book. So, yeah, she has a lot of responsibility in her head.
That is putting pressure on Purvi. From 200 to 400, that is putting pressure.
Yeah, if she has the passion, then I think she will do it. Is there a character or event that you really connect with the story? Any one of you?
I'd like to say something, if I'm audible.
Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
absolutely.
Yes, I like the idea. I'm not answering your question, but I like the idea that before we go ahead in life, we have to remember that we are creatures of flesh and blood and that we must be mindful of the body too. Very often we imagine ourselves, I think, as spirits who have nothing to do with the body. So we must learn to ground ourselves in the body, take care of it, make sure that it's working well. Only then can our more imaginative fantasies and such things, be executed. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
May I?
Please.
I don't know if I can correlate with some of the characters, but what I would keep as a personal advice today of this story is what you said about pressure. I think it's this point in your story where her mother says you have to be very attentive and very careful how to apply pressure on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Mm?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I will keep from your story. Be very careful on how you press things, on how you apply pressure, and mostly on how you press yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I would
Absolutely.
think about myself. We shouldn't press ourselves the same way or at the same level every time. It depends on many things, I guess.
Yes, very much. The force that you apply when you are doing different things is very important, and the you might be doing a sequence of actions which might require different levels of force to be applied on the objects and on yourself. So
Mhm.
you got to be very attentive to the force that you are applying and the direction of the force and how much pressure you are applying, as you rightly said. Thank you.
Hey, so shall we move on to our next storyteller of the day? So today we have Adina Popa from Romania. So let me give you a small clue on her story. What if something small, simple, even ordinary could determine someone's fate? So this is a Romanian folk tale, The Tale of the Onion. Over to you, Adina. You're not audible. You're muted. Yes,
Now, can you hear me?
Yes,
yes,
yes.
Yes,
perfect.
thank
Perfect.
you. Thank you so much. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what time is in your country, but
Yes.
here in East Europe, in Romania, it's the morning, it's a Saturday morning, and it's such a beautiful day because it's the day of love. Today is Saint Valentine. So this is a folk tale indeed, as Shita already said. And it's so specific, and we'll see what's about because my story says that long, long ago, in the time of the Romans and the Dacians, which were the ancestors of the today's Romanians, in the land where we now call Transylvania, in a small village named Densuș, lived a beautiful young woman. She was called Ileana. But Ileana was not only beautiful, she was gifted with her hands because she was so talented in sewing beautiful shirts like mine. And the word about her talent spread away, traveled far away after over 7 valleys or 7 villages, as what happens in the story always. And our Ileana had a beloved, a young man. He was so hardworking and handsome as she was. And two of the young people loved each other a lot and decided to marry. But in the eve of their wedding, the Romans marched to Dacia in order to conquer it. And all the men in Dacia were called to go to the battlefield. Among them was also the beloved of Ileana. Before the young man to go to the war, Ileana went in front of him and tell him that she will love him, she will expect him as it needed. And in this time, she will sew beautiful shirts for him. So when he will come back home, he will be the most beautiful groom. The young man embraced Ileana and kissed her forehead and told her that he loves her a lot and he will always love her. And it doesn't matter what will happen. She has to be sure that he will love her even beyond death. And the young man went to the war, and Ileana stayed home sewing beautiful shirts for him. And after about 1 year, the war stopped, and the man started to come home. When Ileana heard that the man come home, she went in the middle of the road and looking to see her beloved coming in her hands. But he didn't come in the first day, not in the second day, even in the first week or in the second week. And Ileana did not lose her hope, just waiting, looking to see him. In one day, a man stopped in front of her house. Ileana saw him in the window and went to the door, opened the door, and it wasn't him. It was a stranger. Are you Ileana? Yeah, I'm Ileana. Oh, my poor, beautiful girl. I came to you with a message from far away. You know, your beloved was so brave in the war, on the battlefield. But he had died in my arms. And with his last breath, he begged me to search you, to come to you, to give you a message. And the message is that he will love you even beyond death. Now, Ileana knew. She had felt in her heart but she didn't want to believe that could be truth. But the words, the message of this stranger was a certitude. So Ileana started to cry and wept a lot until she didn't have any more tears. And losing her strength, with the last strength, she took all that beautiful shirts she sewed for her beloved and went in the mountains where the Dacians' royal fortresses, Sarmisegetusa, where the Zamolxe, the god of the Dacian, was. She went in front of the god and she told him her story of waiting, hope, love. Great Zamolxe, help me. I just want to be with my beloved, but I can't take my own life. The god listened to the sorrow story of this young, beautiful woman in front of him. He paused. He thought, and he took a decision. He transformed the beautiful young Ileana in an onion. Why an onion? To be in the earth with her beloved and to be surrounded by many layers like her beautiful shirts she sewed with so much love for him. And the god did something else. He decided that Ileana's sorrow to be shared with all the world. And so from that day on, whenever people cut an onion, they shed a tear. Thank you.
Superb story. It was
Thank
very
you.
beautiful as well.
Yes, it's one
So
of my
now
favorite.
okay, so now we understand, why we shed tears when we cut onions.
Yeah, it is a story to know why we have tears in
Yes.
our eyes. So the
Yes.
base, it's a love story. It's a
It's a love
local
story.
love
Yes.
story.
Yes. Right. So I guess in India also something like this is made, that why we shed tears when we cut onions. So each country has its own way of telling the tale. So that was wonderful. Yes, over to you, audience.
I would like to share with you just a few words about this story, which I love a lot because it's a very specific local folk tale from a UNESCO territory. I'm working in a UNESCO territory, UNESCO Global Geopark, Hudson Country UNESCO Global Geopark, and the meaning of a geopark is to help the local communities to have development, sustainable development based on their heritage, all type of heritage, geological, natural, cultural, and intangible heritage like local stories are part of this way to help communities for sustainable development. And I heard for the first time this story from a man, a wonderful man, which has a small restaurant with his wife. The restaurant is Luciana because he is Lucian, and his wife Anna is cooking there traditional Romanian food. And until their guests stay to the table and taste good food made by Anna, Lucian is telling stories, folk tales like this one. And I was there, I heard the story, and I was so moved about it. I liked it a lot, and I asked him. He agrees to share the story with worldwide if possible, if it's possible. And he agreed, and I thank you so much, Lucian, for this. And I know that now with us are our colleagues my colleagues from EduStory Romania, which is a national company of EduStory. Some of them already heard this story, but I'm sure that they love it, still love it. And thank you so much, because I have to tell you that here with us are also people from Hatse country and students from the Geopark schools. And hello, and thank you so much that you took time to be with me. And of course, I like it a lot because I think this story has a lot of symbols. It's not just a folk tale, but many symbols are inside of it. And this is what a question which I put to the audience, if they identified some symbols or messages or something which can be maybe common in different cultures, because we are here, people from different countries and continents, and of course cultures.
So true. Okay, anybody else?
Hello,
She's
this is
asking
Kiran.
something. Yes.
This is Kiran calling in from Australia. Adina, I felt that your story has such a universal theme. The theme of love, the theme of longing, the theme of hope, and compassion from the God. And so I think it resonates, because whatever cultures we're from, we share the same human traits. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Kiran.
May I?
Yes,
Of course,
please.
Stella.
Okay, Adina, I'm from Greece.
Oh, we are quite neighbors of the
Yes,
continent.
we're quite neighbors. Yeah, it was a lovely story. And about your question, I noticed that there are some motifs that they are very common to our countries and also universally, like the motif of love, of the man, of the king going to war, so his beloved has to wait for him, and sometimes fate is fatal for their love, and also the motive of transformation, which I think is a very old one. It appears in our mythologies too.
Yes, indeed.
Your voice is breaking.
My voice, you said?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, your voice is okay.
Okay. And it also had very lovely pictures, your story. We could imagine the girl showing and then the transformation of the woman into an onion.
Yes. Yes, because also I believe or I saw this this onion and the layers of it, like some layers of identity, our love. So it's like I don't know, the death of the Ilana's death. It's like a reborn. So when we grow, we are surrounded by love, yeah, with the people, the adults around us. But it is the moment when we become us, with the best we have, like an onion, which offers to the world its sweetness and so good taste in each food we cook with it. So, yeah, there are many symbols related to transformation. Thank you.
Can I, Sheetal?
Yes,
Yeah, of course.
please.
Irrespective of the countries, any folk tale, I see that when people have to cross or the news has to spread, it always has to be 7 seas, 7 mountains, 7 rivers. Everything is the number 7, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not
Stories
connected
always
somehow.
do.
Always, always. Thank you. Nice story.
Thank you.
So, Adina, we use the story in corporate background where you peel layer by layer to become more beautiful. So something like that we use it in corporates also, like as in onions.
Great.
So, yes. Anybody else? Yes, Laura. Anybody else?
Hello,
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry I am with my camera off, but I've heard Adina telling this story before in Romanian, but now after the workshop, the Eco Heroines Journey workshop, I just related differently to this story. Because this transformation of the girl into the onion, it reminded me about this this motive of a human being turning into an element of the earth, of nature, of an animal, or in Adina's story case, the onion. So yeah, every time I hear this story, I find something new. Thank you, Adina.
Thank you so much, Ina. Yes, indeed, there are, as I said, there is many symbols in this story, and yes, it's possible every time when we hear it, maybe to discover something else, and this is why I loved it so much.
So much. Anybody else?
I was reminded of Ulysses. For some reason, you remember his when he goes away on his war, for so many years he leaves home and his wife sits and sews all kinds of, she makes some really beautiful things, just like the shirts that you mentioned. And she's waiting for her beloved to come home. But I think similar to the story, probably it's a very common, liked kind of, concept, because when finally Ulysses arrives, he's not in a position to appreciate her. That's a different take altogether. But a woman weaving her love into what she knows best, if she knows weaving, she puts all her love into that. And that is a common motive that I found in your story. Loved it.
Thank you. Yes, as Stella said, here maybe on our continent, European, there are many, let's say, messages or common theme subjects which influenced this type of folk tales.
Yes, if I may add, this motif of showing your love or your feelings also exists in the story of the three oranges. that is very, very common in Europe. I think that you know it, Adina, of the woman who loses her beloved, and then she's transformed, and then she has to sue her troubles, her love, for him to find a way to communicate with him.
Mhm.
It's a very common
Indeed.
motive.
Indeed.
Okay, so let's move on to our next Stella. From Romania, we move on to Greece. Joining with us, we have Stella Tsingou. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, ma'am.
It's
So
okay.
what if sorrow isn't meant to break us, but to shape us, right? So this is a Greek folk tale which is named as Sorrow. And over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Oli. Thank you, Oli, for giving me the opportunity of being part of the Storytelling Festival. I'm going to tell you a story about sorrow. It is a Greek folk tale. It's common here in Greece, this type of folk tale. And when we have our discussion, I will also comment on the 80 types of Thompson in which this story belongs. But now let's get back to the story. Well, once upon a time, there was a king and a queen, and they have a boy and a girl. The girl was a beautiful princess, and this princess had a nanny, an old nanny that she would always sigh and say, "Oh, what a sorrow." And the girl was curious. She knew nothing about sorrow, and she kept asking, "Oh, Nanny, please tell me, what is sorrow?" And Nanny kept saying, "Oh, my dear child, it's better for you not to learn what sorrow is." So time passed by, and one day, as the girl was sitting by her window with her nanny, she heard a man. He was proclaiming his words, and he was saying, "Sorrow, I sell sorrow, sorrow, I sell sorrow." So the girl descended the scales. She went downstairs, stood by the man and said, "Oh, please, give me some of the sorrow you sell." And then, this man took out of his pocket a tiny box, as small as a matchbox. And the girl opened the box, and she saw a tiny worm. She took sorrow with her, went upstairs, and asked her nanny, "Oh, nanny, and now what should I feed sorrow?" And nanny replied, "You should feed it with sugar." So the girl started feeding the worm with sugar, with a lot of sugar, and the worm was fed and fed and fed and fed, and it was growing bigger and bigger and bigger until it became a beast. And when it became a beast, it ate her father, it ate her mother, it ate her brother, it ate the whole village. The whole kingdom was devastated, and only the princess was left. So, when she was left alone, she took off and she went back and forth until she reached the forest. She found a high tree. She climbed up there and stayed for a long time. But there was a prince living close to the forest. So one day, as he came to water his horse, the horse wouldn't drink because it was afraid of the girl's reflection into the water. And when the man saw that beautiful woman sitting up there, he asked, "What you are? Are you a woman? Are you a fairy? Are you a ghost?" And she replied, "I'm a woman. I'm a human being, as you are." and the two young people fell in love. And the prince took her with him into his kingdom, and he married to her. But his mother wouldn't agree. She asked, "Who is she? Who is she, son? If she's a wild one." But the prince, married to a woman, married to a girl, unfortunately, he had to go to the war. The girl was pregnant and she was about to give birth, but her husband left away. Eventually, the day of the birth came. The girl gave birth to a beautiful boy and she took him into her arms. She lulled him, she breastfed the baby for the first night, for the second night, but on the third night, the room shuddered, and then a terrible rumble, and the girl saw the beast. So she saw Sorrow, and Sorrow said to the girl, "I'm hungry. Give me something to eat." "I have nothing to give you." "Then I will eat your baby." And Sorrow took the baby, grabbed it from the hands of the girl, swallowed it, and disappeared. Next morning, when her mother-in-law came into the room, she looked for the baby and asked, "Where is your baby?" And the girl replied, "I ate him. I ate him." "Oh, what are we going to do now?" said her mother-in-law. But when the prince came back from the war, she said nothing to her son. She just said that the baby was dead. The girl was pregnant again, and this happened for the second time. And when she was pregnant again for the third time, Sorrow came again. And then again, the terrible rumble, the room shuddering, and the beast standing before the girl and asking, "I will eat your baby." And for the third time, he ate the girl's baby. But next morning, when her mother-in-law saw it, she said, "No, this time I will not keep it secret. I kept it a secret once. I kept it a secret twice. Now I will turn you into your husband." And that's what happened. When the prince came back from the war, his mother told him, "I had told you, she's a wild one. She has eaten your children." And then he went to their room and said to his wife, "I don't want you to be my wife anymore. You ate your children. Go away. I don't want you to be here anymore." So the girl, off she went, and she went back and forth for a long time until she found a mountain, and she climbed up there and stayed there for a long time. And one day she heard again this terrible rumble, and Sorrow, the beast that she had fed, was standing in front of her again. "Oh, Sorrow," said she, "here you are again. Well, this time I have nothing left to give you. So please, eat me. Eat me so you will save me from my troubles." But Sorrow, it stood there and said, "No, I'm not eating you. What's more, because I had done wrong to you, and you didn't say anything, you didn't turn me into nobody, I will give you back your children." And it did, and all three children were on her arms again. And then sorrow said, I'm leaving now. I'm leaving forever. The earth will split, and I will be in there. I will never come back again. So take your children and go back to your husband. And that's what happened. She went back to her husband. She told him her whole story because when he met her, she had said nothing. And as they say, they lived happily ever after. This was the story of sorrow. Thanks. As I said, it's a folk story of Greece, which I love. I love very much. I enjoy telling it, and in extended versions. Now it was a short version.
Wonderful story, Stella. And you told it very wonderfully too. Yes. So, my very first question is, why did you select this story for today?
Yes, that's a good question. The first time I met this story, I was most amazed by the pictures I could imagine. I really like working and thinking of or by the means of aesthetic in some stories. Of course, there are many symbols, but there are so many here. Uh, a very strong image, the image of sorrow, a tiny worm that becomes a huge beast, a huge monster. And sometimes here in Greece and maybe in other cultures, we tend to symbolize sadness, sorrow with a worm. We say that a worm is eating us when we have something worrying us. So it was the pictures, the images at first. And then, of course, all these symbols and archetypes that one could find in this story.
So, is there a character or event that you really connect with in the story?
I don't know if I connect. Of course, I think that most of us women could connect with the female character. I don't know what you, the audience, are thinking about it. If you feel that you are in a way connected with that woman. Of course, we will never eat our children in a realistic stage, but with this symbol of sometimes I think that it works as a symbol of depression, of sadness. So I would like to know how it worked for you, or if you felt connected, or if it reminded of you of a similar situation. Both women and men, of course.
Yes. And any personal experience you remember from this story? In fact,
If
this
you're
is for
asking,
all the audience. It is for
it's
the
for
audience
everybody.
as
Yes, this
well.
question.
Yes,
Yes,
this question is for
because
everyone, but I would like to
yes.
start with you.
Okay,
Yes.
let us wait for the audience to answer this question.
Okay.
If it reminds them a personal story.
I would like just to say thank you for your story, Stella. And yes, indeed, listening to this story, I can say that it was a message very profound, because we have to take care. We have to take care, because otherwise we can do a lot of bad things to our love, our families, who is around us. And sometimes we are conscious about this, and sometimes not. And we have to take care. And I think this is the beauty of the stories, because they give us so many messages in such a beautiful way to tell it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you too. I totally agree. And this is sometimes we tell stories as performance storytellers, and then people from the audience come and ask, why this, why that, what do you think about this? But sometimes I think that the point is not to give answers, but to put questions. And this story, what is still amazing me, because I really have no answer why she didn't tell it from the very first time, why she didn't say it wasn't me, it was sorrow. This is a question I have not answered yet to myself. I don't know if you have any answers.
I would like to reply to her if anybody has the answer for this question.
I'm wondering,
Yes, Sujaya?
sorry, I'm wondering
Yes.
if this has anything to do with the emotional state of a woman after she gives birth. Many of them go through a severe state of depression. Nobody understands that. The children are not appreciated, really, the newborn baby. I mean, I've heard this. I myself didn't go through that, but many say that you feel that you're not connected with the child for some time and you're drowning in your own, misery. I'm just wondering if this has anything to, we know that sorrow is eating up her children. And
Yes,
it's only after she gets time to move away and think about these things that she repairs her mind, and then she comes back happily with the children. She's accepted motherhood in a more wholesome fashion. Apart from this, having a hostile mother-in-law around could have been could add to her depression, you see. So I'm just wondering if it has to do with that.
I think Sujaya, if I spell it right, that you illustrated it very well. That's something I had never thought before, and it was a man that pointed out it to me. We were talking about this story with a male storyteller, and he said, "And if this story talks about this kind of depression, when a woman gives birth, exactly the time after giving birth." Yes, I think that it could tell a lot of things about this stage of life, of a woman's life.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So, the last question from the series of questions we are asking, if you had to change or add something to the story, what would that be? So again, this is for the audience, of course. So the beginning part and the ending part, as we told, right, in the beginning, before the story, if you would like to add anything, or after the story, if you would like to add anything.
I guess nobody would change anything.
Okay. So maybe if
Okay.
you have to change the ending of the story, maybe you have to change the story's beginning or the ending, or something like that.
Maybe if we go with this direction of depression and how she got her children back, why not give her parents back and everybody else that sorrow ate in the beginning of the story? So once you go out of this depression stage, you regain everything you lost before. Not only the children, okay? Children are important, but give her the people that she lost before meeting the prince.
Yes, this is a good question. It could be a different ending. Yes.
Yes. That was wonderful, Ina. Okay.
Thank you. Before we finish, I would like just to add, if anyone wants to read something more about this kind of folk tale, it's the type 710 of 80 system. I will write it.
Okay.
Okay. A Turner Thompson
Yes.
classification.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. There's some kind of a sound here. Okay. Thank you, Venkat sir. Okay. So now let's come back to India in Bangalore. So we welcome Sujaya Sundaram. So what if a stranger arrived and changed how an entire village saw itself? This is the handsome drawn man in the world. And over to you, Sujaya Sundaram.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Eric Miller, the CSF, and to Mangala, who introduced me to this event. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I'll straight away begin with the story. In a small, windswept village, which had very narrow houses and low ceilings, swans growing, everything remained the same always. Nothing changed except the wind. The wind sometimes blew hard, sometimes it fell silent. It was located on a very desert-like cape sticking out into the ocean. There were 20 houses in all. And all the men of the village could fit into 7 boats. Their source of livelihood was a bountiful sea, which gave them enough to live. But they walked the beaten path every day, morning to night, day after day. Nothing was different about any day. Now, some children were playing on the beach. And as they were playing, they noticed that there was a large object coming from a distance on the waters. They imagined it could be a warship and waited expectantly. But as it drew closer, they realized there's no mast, there are no sails, so it can't possibly be a ship. Then the next thing they thought it could be was a whale. But then that idea too was, wrong. As it came closer and closer, they realized that it was the body, a body that had been washed up on shore, a dead body. Now, children will be children, and they were not going to worry too much if what was, washed up was a dead body or not. So they started playing with it. They buried the body in the sand and they pulled it up again. They took the sand off. Again, they buried the body and so on and so forth until some of the adults noticed this and they came running in alarm. What are you doing? And the men of the village came and started examining the body. They pulled off some of the seaweeds and flotsam that covered the body and discovered that it was a man. This was an irritant in their everyday lives. Now they had to think about a dead body and what to do with it. By the way, the village had no space. I told you it was there was absolutely no land. So they had a practice of dealing with death. Now, when somebody died or if they found a body floating in, coming in from the ocean, what they did was they climbed up, they dragged the body up to the cliff and threw it into the sea. Usually with a large weight tied onto their feet so that the body did not resurface. So, thinking of all the work awaiting them, the men dragged the body into the village. They found the nearest house and pushed the body in, but they realized that the house was terribly small. This man's body wouldn't fit in properly into the room. He was not going to fit onto any bedstead. He could not be placed on any table. So they said, you manage how you will, they told their women and said, we are going to spend the night, walking to the neighboring villages and we'll find out if any of these villages are missing a person, if they suspect that somebody could have drowned. So the men left. The women had their job cut out for them, hardworking women. So they sat around the body, and they had a hard job getting him cleaned. There was so much covering this body. It must have been in the water for a long time. Now, before they left, the men had thought that perhaps this body was huge, probably because his bones had, absorbed a lot of water. Or probably there were some people, some bodies that just kept growing after death. Anyway, the women started cleaning. In fact, they had to use some of the tools they used for cleaning the scales of fish to remove the scales that had hardened on his body. Now, they did this one by one, patiently. And by the time they finally got to see the man, they realized that he was big. His hands and legs were long. He had a sense of power about him. And they were fascinated by him. In their mind, they started imagining, if this man had lived in our village, what would he do? He couldn't get into any house. We didn't have doors big enough for him. How would he have walked around? The ground would have rumbled. And they felt sad. Where if he lived here, probably he would be considered a clumsy oaf wherever he went into these tiny houses. People might say, oh no, that big clumsy oaf is coming now. I'll have to look for the strongest chair in my house to make him sit down. And because he knew that this is what people thought about him, he must have been very bashful and continued standing in a corner saying, no, ma'am, I'm fine, and so on. Thinking of what this man must have lived, what kind of life he must have lived, the women started feeling for him. They empathized with him. And as they decided, they were planning what to do for him, because death must be treated with dignity, and a man sent off to his funeral should be dressed well, due respect had to be given. So they planned on how they were going to cover him. He was far too big. None of their men's trousers would fit him. None of the men's best Sunday shirts were going to fit him. And they looked at this man. The more they looked at him, they admired him, and there was a certain passion rising in their hearts. They thought how lucky his wife must have been, how virile he must have been. She must have been one lucky woman. And this kind of passion led them to quickly think of ways and means to dress him. So there wasn't enough cloth to stitch him a pair of trousers, so they decided to take down a piece of sail and try and stitch trousers for him. As for his shirt, some of them volunteered to use their bridal linen to stitch a shirt for him. They finished sewing these clothes, but when they put it on him, they realized that this was not enough. This man was too large for these clothes. The pants looked like he was wearing some undersized child's trousers, and the shirt popped open a few buttons when they tried wearing it. And they thought, this man must have had so much authority where he lived. Look at the power he exudes. Probably in his village, he just had to go to the sea and call out to the fishes, and the fishes would jump out. He didn't have to go fishing. And he could work so hard with his strong hands and legs that he could force springs from under the rocks so that they had water in his village and they could plant flowers and make it colorful and vibrant. Thinking of all this, the women continued to do what they had to do with this dead body. Meanwhile, an old woman who was watching this whole thing said, you know what? His face looks like he has to be Esteban. What? Everyone looked at her, and they then looked back at him and said, oh yes, he has to be Esteban. The younger women, just for a few seconds, wondered if this name was really appropriate. But then soon they realized, yes, there couldn't be a better name for him than Esteban. So Esteban he was. Meanwhile, the men returned, tired and irritated, saying none of the neighboring villages had said that they were missing anyone. The women were thrilled. It meant that Esteban belonged to them, not to anybody else. And the men were not, they had covered Esteban's face with a kerchief because a dead body. And the men looked at their wives and they were not happy with the expression on their wives' faces. They looked like they were terribly emotional, passionate, and they scolded them, saying, "Since when did you get so emotional and fussy about a dead body that's washed ashore? What's so special about him that you have to fuss so much?" They didn't say a word. They just pulled the kerchief off his face. The men looked at the face and they were so overcome they couldn't say anything. Yes, indeed, this was Esteban. There was no arguing that point. And they had to do what they had to do for Esteban. No place for quarrels here. So the women and the men together decided that they would grant Esteban the grandest funeral the village had ever seen. The men quickly got together a litter made from, wooden poles and things from ships, from their boats, and they created a kind of a litter on which the body could be placed and dragged up to the cliffs. They were practical men living hard lives, so they wanted the funeral, wanted him to be thrown off the cliff as quickly as possible. It was a job to be done. It was a weighty job to be done. But the women somehow lingered around. They were buying time. They went home and brought little trinkets to hang on his body. Meanwhile, some of the women had gone to the neighboring villages where there were flowers and asked those women to come with flowers to the village. So by the time the men got Esteban's body ready for the funeral, the whole village was filled with flowers, more flowers than they needed, and there was no place to walk around. It had become very colorful and fragrant. Finally, ironically enough, the same men who objected to Esteban's presence in the village, now they were fighting to carry his body on their shoulders. They carried him up to the cliff, and for a moment, everything seemed to hang in suspense as they dropped the body down without tying any weight to his legs, because the idea was that Esteban should be free to come back whenever he felt like it to the village. In fact, before they bid him farewell, everybody thought that he should not die an orphan. So people in the village had declared themselves his father, his mother, his cousins, his brothers and sisters, and the whole village had united in becoming his kinsman. And Esteban went down into the waters. Meanwhile, as they were carrying Esteban up to the cliff, somewhere the men and women felt something was not quite right. They looked down at their village and they realized it was so sterile. There was no color. The houses looked so cramped and miserable. No plants, no flowers. And they decided Esteban needs to belong to a nice village. He deserves the best. So in future, we'll be building bigger houses. We are going to paint our houses gay colors. We are going to make the doors big. We are going to make sure the floors are solid and strong. And we're going to make sure the beds are large, so that if Esteban happens to come back, he will always be welcome in one of these homes. They imagined that in the years to come, somewhere out at sea, some huge liner sailing across the horizon would suddenly, the passengers in the ship would suddenly be aware of a powerful and beautiful fragrance coming from somewhere. And they would notice this very colorful village in the distance and ask, what is that all about? What are those colors? And the captain of the ship would come down and would tell them, that is Esteban's village. Thank you.
Well, wonderful story, Sujaya. Yes. So the
Can
very
I
first
start off
question, yes,
maybe since...
yes, please.
No. I just want to start off the discussion by saying that Sometimes something imagination and helps us to probably understand our potential better, grow bigger. So do have any of you had your encounter with Estebans is my question.
Wow. Yes, would anybody like to reply to her?
May I ask something? I have sometimes my internet connection is not proper. I didn't listen well to the question, but I would also first I would like to ask if is it a story from Gabriel Garcia Marquez?
Yes, yes. Oh, I didn't want to kind of say that at the beginning, but this is Gabriel Garcia Marquez at his best. And this is the first story I read by him when I was introduced to the author. And this story fascinates me. Yes, it's a
Yes,
short story, and it's titled The Handsomest Drowned Man in the World.
I would
Yes.
like personally to thank you. It's an amazing story. I love Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And as I was listening to you,
Thank you.
I think it's a safe space to share something personal. I remember the voice of my grandfather. I like Gabriel Garcia Marquez very much, and when he was dead, I I was thinking of my grandfather, and he was born in 1928, like Garcia Marquez. His stories are amazing, and my grandfather died on February 3 years ago. So today it is the day of his memorial, and I was very engaged.
Okay.
Yes, uh, I was very engaged to your story. I would really
Yes.
like to thank you about reminding me all these things and making me feel
Yes.
this way. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes. Anybody else like to ask her anything?
Yeah, is there a meaning for the word Esteban?
Esteban is I think the Spanish equivalent of Stephen. I hope I'm right. It's Esteban is considered a saint also, isn't he? Somebody should help me with this. But it's such a beautiful name. Um, I think there are these feelings. I think there are associations with goodness and everything that goes with a good human being. That's why he's called Esteban. Yeah, that's it. I should do some more research on the name and tell you, but I do know that it's a version of Stephen.
Thank you. I keep hearing that word in Netflix series and all that. Just curious. So
Yes, yes. Have any of you come across people, events, experiences that have suddenly expanded your horizon and made you think beyond the limits that you had set on yourself? Because most of us think that's it. Many of us have this feeling that, yeah, this is my life. And then suddenly somebody comes along and you suddenly find that your world has opened up and your world of imagination and fantasy leads you to do some very real things. And I want to point out to all of you that in this story, Esteban does nothing. He's just a dead body. He's just lying there, but something happens in the people's minds. So,
Okay.
would some of you like to comment on that?
Oh, Google says Esteban comes from the verb estar, to be. And the meaning is they were. The meaning is they were.
Yeah, okay.
The meaning of.
Mm.
So that was a quick look at the Google.
right,
Anyways,
that's the
so
Spanish.
Yeah, that should help. Yeah.
yes. So, what is a character or an event that you can connect with in this story? It's for the audience and for Sujaya herself as well.
There's no
Sometimes
character.
happens, you know. Okay, sorry. Yes, please go
Yeah.
on. Go on,
There's
go
no
on, go
real
on, Shaheen.
character or event, but some people, they just, their presence makes so much of a difference to people around them. And Esteban was one of them. He, even in death, he got people to think, he got people together, he got people to change for the better. So there are so many people around the world. Some of them have become glorious, some of them have not had that fame, but yes, just their mere presence kind of brightens up people's rooms and lives. And I think Esteban in this story is one such person.
Yes. I must.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
go ahead, Sujaya.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
so as you said, Sujaya,
Hmm.
so the Esteban is a dead body, by the way.
Hmm.
It's not a living human being. So I guess the message that the story brings in is that the presence or the message is important than the individual or the person. So I guess that's what I got from the story.
Okay. Yes. I want to add that I don't think it's all that important because there is critics say that what Garcia Marquez uses is a technique called magical realism or magic realism. Of course, it was a term he didn't coin, others coined it. So it's how magical realism is used in stories is where the absolutely everyday mundane appears so casually with the fantastic and extraordinary. Are we having little miracles happen in our life that we're not aware of? We think a miracle has to come with thunder and lightning and big things have to happen. But there are miracles, there are people, places, events that act as catalysts, which make us change, and those are miracles. That word is seriously, I think, misunderstood very often, is what I personally feel, the word miracle.
Venkat sir has given a comment that every breath is a miracle. So I second that.
Yes.
Not until the lockdown and the thing happened. But yes, after that, we truly believe that we are alive. That's a miracle.
Yeah, the reason I said that was that, you just observe how fragile the life is.
Yes.
So if you don't let the air in the next moment, we are dead and the whole story is gone. So that's where I take the inspiration from, that every breath is important and miracle.
Absolutely.
True. True. Yes. Okay, so again, the question, before the story or after the story, or if you had to change anything in the story, what would that be?
I wouldn't want to change anything in the story. I just love the story. I just love it. Yes. But I think Garcia Marquez also talked about how imagination can transform. It's about the transformation of a village, the way people think, isn't it? I mean, that's what struck me, that people who thought life is all about just going around day after day doing their usual things, and they thought they were happy, but then they realized, okay, look at our men and look at Esteban. When you have a point of reference, you're thinking about it, and something inspires you to want to think higher, isn't it? You are not restricted by your circumstances, and the first thing that happens is your imagination starts working, and imagination can translate into reality very often.
So I also remember the proverb, where your imagination, where your thought goes, your mind goes there.
Absolutely.
I'm not able to,
yes.
And it is so important to look things, because nowadays, healing and everything is so much of trending. People are putting everything on ourselves that we will see what we have thought, right? We
Yes.
can only see that. So it's so
Yes.
important that we think good, we speak good, because that's what is going to reflect us back.
Thank you. I enjoyed telling the story.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a really thought-provoking story, I would say.
Thank you.
Yes. And now we have our final teller of the day, Shaheen Maniiar from Pune. So, what if the brightest light you ever loved was never meant to stay? Right? So, this is a Japanese folktale, the tale of a bamboo cutter. Over to you, Shaheen.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. And thank you so much, Eric. Thank you so much, Chennai Storytelling Circles, because it's such a beautiful opportunity to be addressing people from all over the world, storytellers who are so passionate. I think I am passionate, but when I hear your stories, I know you all are more passionate than I am, or at least I feel that way. So let me start my story, The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. This is a story long, long ago, in deep in the interiors of Japan. The quiet hills and forests around. There lived an old bamboo cutter with his wife, and one day he was wandering through the forest. While he was wandering, he kept swaying his axe, looking for the perfect bamboo to cut. And suddenly his bamboo struck a stalk, and a blinding light burst forth from inside the bamboo. He tapped at it, and the bamboo split open, and there was a tiny girl, radiant as the moonlight. Trembling, he whispered, "What miracle is this?" And he reached out, took the baby in his hands, and he carried her home. His wife, who could not bear children, gasped. "The heavens have blessed us at last," she said. They named the little miracle Kagayu Hime. Now, Kagayu, she grew with very unnatural speed. Within months, she could speak, she could walk, she could run, and in a few quick years, she was a young woman of breathtaking beauty. Not only was she a beautiful girl, but she was a very, very obedient and good daughter. She moved quietly through the house, sweeping the floors, arranging the flowers in vases, helping her mother in the kitchen, preparing the meals. Sometimes she sat at the doorway, mending her father's old and worn robes. At night, she lit lamps around the house. She listened to her parents, who told her stories and anecdotes about their youth. Her laughter filled the small house with warmth. She also loved the world outdoors. She would run barefoot with the other village children, chasing fireflies in the evenings, splashing in the streams on warm summer days, climbing trees, singing songs. Her laughter rang louder than all of theirs. It was as if the moon itself had lent her wings. Sometimes her mother would whisper to her husband, "Isn't she happiest when she forgets how extraordinary she is?" The old father would smile and say, "Let her be a child, even if the world calls her divine and extraordinary." The only time she showed sadness or a sense of longing was on moonlit nights. On such nights, she sat at her window and gazed at the moon, her face pale with longing. Now, as she grew, the word of her beauty spread far and wide. Noblemen and princes sought her hand, but Kagayu did not yield easily. She understood that with her parents being in their social position, it would not be right to refuse any of those noble proposals directly. And yet she knew she would never be able to be a good wife to any of them. So she decided that she would put them through tests. To one suitor, she said, "Bring me the bowl of the Buddha if your devotion is true." He risked his life in foreign lands only to fail. To a second suitor, she said, challenging him softly, "Find me the robe made of the fire rat's fur if you have the courage and the daring." The nobleman bribed merchants to bring him a robe of fire rat's fur. And when he presented it to her and she tested it, it burned to ashes. His humiliation was complete. To another nobleman she requested, "Fetch me the jeweled branch from the island of Hurai." His greed at possessing her betrayed him. He hired craftsmen to forge a jeweled branch and present it to her proudly. Kagayu examined it and then laughed softly. "This is made by man's hands," she said, "not by the gods. Did you think I would not know, sir?" Each suitor failed. Their pride was shattered and they were humbled. Even the emperor himself was captivated when he heard about her beauty. He invited Kagayu to his palace and he promised her power, luxury, and his own devotion. "Stay with me," he pleaded. "I will make you empress, and the world will bow before you." But Kagayu refused. Her eyes were shadowed with sorrow. "My lord, my heart is bound elsewhere," she said. "Even if I want to, I cannot be yours." Finally, one day she had to confess to her parents. "I am not of this world," she told them. "I belong to the moon, and my time is here. My time here on this earth will end by the next new moon." Her mother clung to her, sobbing, "You are our child. You are our joy. Do not leave us." Her father said, "I will fight the heavens to keep you here." When the emperor heard about this, he sent soldiers to guard her house. Their swords were drawn and they were shining in the daylight and at night. They were determined to resist whatever came. But when the new moon rose, the sky split open. A procession of celestial warriors descended, clad in the armor that glowed with fire. The soldiers of the earth raised their blades, but they were no match, and they had no strength against the brilliance of the moon warriors. The bamboo cutter fell to his knees. He was so helpless. Kagayu walked out of the door. She was dressed in a robe of shimmering light. She handed a letter for the emperor and a veil to him. The veil was filled with the elixir of immortality. Tears streaked her face as she turned to her parents one last time and hugged them. I will never forget the love you gave me, but I must go. And she bowed her head to them. Then, surrounded by the radiant host, she ascended into the heavens. Her parents, for many days, were broken by the sorrow. But they started finding comfort in the small rituals she once loved, tending to the garden, feeding the sparrows, telling their stories to each other by the lamplight. One day, after reading Kagayu's letter for maybe the 100th time, the emperor held the vial of elixir in his hands and he whispered, "What is the use of immortality if she is not here?" And he ordered his soldiers to burn this veil on top of Mount Fuji. And it is said that since then, Mount Fuji's plume has risen towards the heavens, carrying the memory of love and loss, and standing as a quiet reminder that even in farewell, life begins. This is the tale of the bamboo cutter, also known as a tale of Princess Kagayu, and it is considered Japan's oldest surviving monogatari, I'm not sure, which means a narrative prose.
Wonderful story, Shaheen, and very well told.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, what is one message which can be taken from this story? Yes, to audience and to Shaheen as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I'd
because
like to
when the
listen to
audience,
others first.
yes, absolutely. Yes, Sujaya, Adina, the others are off, so I can ask them.
I think there are two strains that I see in the story. One is a very gendered kind of thing. That is, we have a lot of stories in India also, actually, if you realize, among our folk tales where a daughter is discovered by a couple who have no children, and then she turns out to be not of this world, and she just cannot get married to anyone that the parents suggest, and she has to go back to where she came from. So I find that motive very interesting. So I'm wondering if that has to do with this is one part of it, giving women the space to decide who she wants to who she wants to choose as a partner. That is one of the strains, I think. But I can't help thinking Mount Fuji is such a romantic symbol in Japan. And probably, connecting a story of a beautiful woman and, as beautiful as the moon, and then explaining the volcanic eruptions with this as a background is a very romantic way of looking at a volcano. Yeah.
True.
Yes.
Okay, so what I took from this story is love about holding on, or knowing when to let it go. So that's what I took from this story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Venkat sir, would you like to say something? Since you're on your video.
No, I don't have anything. It's a beautiful story, but I don't have anything specific to share.
Okay.
I just want to say that I think this symbol related, Sujaya said that the women cannot have children. It's a universal symbol because it's also in European culture. I think Stella agrees with me, because we also have this type of folk tales, and they are emotional. They are very interesting. Thank you so much for the story, Shaheen.
Thank you. The reason why I connected with this story was that she was such a beautiful child, but somehow she knew that she didn't belong to earth, and she could not have any attachments and leave. And it's so painful to leave people who've cared for you, who've given you unconditionally. And towards the end, she does start crying. So it's more about that attachment, and then the the disattachment, or the separation that happens in life, that really attracted me to this story. And of course, I knew I was going to be saying it on the 14th of February, so it was such an apt story.
I think today's most of the stories were directly or indirectly connected with love.
Yes, yes.
Isn't it? So, yes, perfect day to tell this kind of stories, I would say. Yes, Sujaya, you're waiting for something?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay. So why, again, you were answered already. Why did you choose this story today? But yes, you already told the answer. So even the question, what the story teaches you as a lesson, I think that is also answered, right? Because when we are telling that we're taking a message from the story, so that is something what we have learned from the story. So even that is answered. Okay, so might you like to add to it, the story, or change it in any way?
I'm not adding or changing it, because the folktale is perfect. I was just reminded of Khalil Gibran's poem on children, where he says, because Shaheen just said that when you have a child who is so perfect and so good and so lovable, and then that child wants to leave to find her own realm, and the parents find it so difficult to let go. I'm just thinking, Gibran says, your children are not your own. They are born through you, but they are not yours. So, as parents, I suppose we have to understand that at some point we have to let go, because they have to find their own spaces.
True.
We can only follow them. We can't pull them back towards ourselves.
And finding that balance is so difficult for parents.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
May I?
Stella. Yes, of course.
I have been thinking on how folk tales travel from one culture to another.
True.
Yes, and we do, yes, we have similar themes, as Adina said. When I was a child, I had a book that was named Japanese Stories, and one of the stories was named Kaguya Hime. It is the same story. But I think that you spelled it differently. You didn't say Kaguya. You said can you spell the name of the girl?
Yes, it's a girl's name, Kaguya. Kaguya Hime.
And it was one of the stories, and it was about some years ago when I saw on Netflix, the platform, an anime. You know it. Yes, that's what I'm
It was
thinking.
made into a movie on Netflix.
Yes, yes, that's it. And I was thinking how stories form us as people, as storytellers, in every role we play in our life and in our jobs.
True, true. Thank you so much, Stella.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So today was a wonderful sessions of love stories, I would say, on this Valentine's Day. Yes. And anybody would like to say anything before we wind up?
Thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward for taking part in the next edition too.
That
Yes,
would be great. Yes.
I think Venkat sir, he voiced all our thoughts.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
Venkat, you're going to tell stories for children in about half an hour from now.
Yes.
Yes,
Right here.
it's pretty much the same story. The tone will be different.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That's great. So thank you, wonderful tellers, for today, the second weekend of Chennai Storytelling Festival 2026. And most important, thank you to the listeners, because without listeners, there are no stories. So thank you very much for being here to listen to our stories. And I will see you again in the following session as well.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sheetal.
so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Yes. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.